From the marbled halls of power to the hard scrabble streets of America, I'm Tom LoBianco, longtime reporter and your host for the show. Welcome to a special new edition of the show. I call this the Nut Graph. We started last week with the memory hole. Thought that was a little too clever. I did get your poll responses, folks. Thank you so much. I will tell you that the Substack polling feature, not great, but that's okay. I saw enough answers to see that everybody likes the nut graph. I am with it. So every Monday, what we're doing now is we're going to be updating you on some big stories, big items, big people, which made a huge impact, made a huge splash not that long ago, like within our lifetimes, within recent memory, hell, even within this year, and seem to have dropped off the face of the earth. Now, that's an easy thing to do in this news environment. It's easy to lose things, it's easy to forget how important things are. So, every Monday here, I'll be bringing up just a few things, just a few. All right, to keep us grounded as we start the week. All right. A reminder, if you're watching us here live on Substack and on YouTube, you can drop in your notes, questions, comments, whatnot. Ian is here. Ian is on the board. If you got comments, thoughts, what have you, drop them in there. He'll drop them in there for me at the end. We'll get to them at the end of the show. You can always catch the encore on Political Voices Network at 8 p.m. over on YouTube. And soon, increasingly, if you miss something, you can catch it on Spotify. I'm populating the podcast over on Spotify. Still figuring out Apple. That's a tough one. All right. So, and a reminder, you can always reach out to me at tom@24site.news. Do sign up. Make sure to get the newsletter. Never miss a show. We're on episode 35 today. I am shocked. I got to tell you, what has it been, like 6 weeks now? Heading into week 7, it does not feel like 7 weeks. It feels like only yesterday when we were dallying about labubus and satanic rituals regarding labubus that were in the headlines. Time flies, guys. I enjoy this. I'm glad you're here with me. All right, before we hop in on our updates here, I just want to do real quick. I mean, look, there's some big news that we really need to hit, and I just want to give us the latest on that. Of course, I'm sure you've all been following along with what's happening in the ceasefire. It looks like we've got Mideast peace, or at least some measure of Mideast peace for now. Here's the New York Times with the live updates on all. Okay, get ready for this. All of the remaining hostages, 20 of them, have been freed. This is true. All right. And the Palestinian prisoners are freed now. Here's a live update from the New York Times. Hostages and Palestinian prisoners are freed as Trump hails historic dawn in the Mideast. Hamas freed the 20 hostages, and Israel released some 2,000 Palestinian prisoners as part of a ceasefire. President Trump and Israel proclaimed an end, quote, an end to the war. Important to note the quotes around that. But Israel and Hamas have not agreed on the next steps in Gaza. Look, it's really hard to underplay or to overplay just how big this is, coming almost 2 years to the day after the Hamas terrorist attack, which launched this war, and the incredible, I mean, like the starvation in Gaza, the brutality of Netanyahu. This has been a very grim, even as Mideast wars go, even as Israeli wars and battles go, this one has been particularly grim, very, very vicious. So this is a big moment. This is a very big moment. Here's what we got from David Halbfinger, Aaron Boxerman, Isabel Kirschner, Adam Razgon, David E. Sanger, and Erica Solomon. I will tell you, I thank God every day that we have some big news organizations with some expertise on stuff like this, with still having a strong presence around the world. All right, because they know what they're talking about. Here's so the hostages were freed, nearly 2,000 Palestinians freed. Israel Here we go. Trump's Secretary of State. So this is a team effort from the New York Times here. Secretary of State said this is one of the most important days for the world and peace. It's kind of interesting. In the initial ceasefire deal, Trump was effusive, never seen anything like it. The president's going with his talking points. Egypt President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi heaps praise on Trump. Okay, that's yeah. You know what? And I actually, was texting with some friends about this. This could be, if you look back on it. All right, as much as Trump's second term in office, and I would note final term in office, has been defined by ICE raids, by turning, sort of a pseudo military national police force on United States citizens, by efforts to use the White House to intimidate and censor views they don't agree with, whether that's on TV or whether it's political folks like James Comey and Letitia James, perceived opponents. Look, those are the hallmarks of this administration, without a doubt. Access, and we're going to be getting into this later, access to incredibly sensitive data by the richest people in the world, specifically Elon Musk. You also have to acknowledge, and this is is what I do as a reporter. You also have to acknowledge the other big moments, and negotiating a ceasefire and potentially an end to this war, potentially huge. All right, and as Chris Cillizza noted recently in his Substack, something Trump is almost unique. He's uniquely able to do this. Okay. A little while ago at the Sharm el Sheikh summit, Trump was asked by reporters when the second phase of the agreement to end the war in Gaza will start. He claims it already has, even though there seems to be several outstanding issues to be negotiated. And here's their summit right here. Egypt's president greeted President Trump with a prepared statement. Here's landing. All right. Now, let's go over to, I want to check out this. This is pretty interesting. The fuck? All right. Jesus. Hold on one second, guys. There we go. Okay, good. So here is, share this tab instead. So here's Trump addressing the Knesset, talking about this. You can see all Trump's people up there, including Stephen Miller, he of the big talk. Kind of a short dude. There's Dan Scavino, or no, I'm sorry, that's Radcliffe up there. Here we go. And there's Javanka collectively. Wouldn't be a trip to the Middle East without Javanka front and center. And Jared Kushner really did play a big role in this, clearly with Steve Witkoff, kind of like the tandem super ambassadors for Middle East work out of this Trump administration. Well, let's jump ahead a little bit, because if you go over here, they had to toss out a member of the Knesset who's protesting. Stole the spotlight here. He's protesting Trump's speech. I think it's really impossible to overstate how much the last 2 years of this war have rocked what used to be some pretty steady political alignments. This is, over time, you have seen support for Israel as a nation, which used to be broadly bipartisan in the United States, really collapse. And increasingly, even from the right, a lot of criticism, not of Israel, not of clearly the right of Israel to exist, as folks would routinely call this, but of Netanyahu, of his handling of this, of the atrocities in what is now, I would note, referred to as Palestine. Now, that used to be, a decade or so ago, that used to be a loaded term. That used to be a very loaded term to use. But now we see a number of major nations around the globe, top Democrats, people who would in normal, used to be considered and really still are, what we would call establishment Democrats, saying that Palestine needs to be recognized as its own separate state. Okay, this is a massive change in global politics and domestic politics, all of which has happened in the last 2 years. Okay, reminder, guys, we're doing the nut graph here. This is every Monday on the show. What I do here is I bring us up to speed on big news you might have missed, big news that we've forgotten about, and things that people would like to drop down the memory hole. Okay, people would like to see, a lot of powerful people would like to see ignored. All right. So, speaking of powerful people who, oh, and a reminder too, you can also always get me at Tom at 24site.news. We're live here every day, Monday through Friday at noon. You can drop me a note, Tom at 24site.news. If you have anybody you'd like to see on the show, any topics you'd like us to get to. If you have hate notes, hell, I'll take those too. You can drop those over. Really love the love notes, but you can drop in the hate notes too. And always catch the encore at 8 p.m. on Political Voices Network. Check out this is from the Austin American Statesman. And yes, absolutely, I have jumped the paywall to bring us the news. Do support the Statesman, though. It's a great paper. So basically, long and short is that Elon Musk, who has his own company town in Texas, has at one time not too long ago was the co-president of the United States, basically had unique access to everything and continued to be the richest person. You could make a pretty good argument that he's the richest person again, re-supplanting Larry Ellison, the father of David Ellison, the one who just bought CBS News. So this is interesting. Going back to California, they all hate California so much. And yet, Dateline, San Francisco, Elon Musk's brain implant startup Neuralink Corp has leased a vacant building in South San Francisco, a fresh sign of the billionaire's increased interest in the Bay Area tech scene. The lease adds to a refreshed and growing area presence for Musk, who moved several of his companies to Texas after criticizing California's business climate during the pandemic. Tesla Inc. and X Corp relocated their headquarters to the Austin area as Musk shuttered Twitter Inc.'s San Francisco offices after renaming the social media platform X. He moved SpaceX headquarters to Starbase, his new company town in South Texas. You know what? The level of unchecked wealth and power that we are living through right now, the re-gilded age, whatever the hell you want to call it, it continues to astound me. I just okay, back to the Statesman. Now, both Neuralink and Musk's California-based artificial intelligence startup XAI are expanding in the Bay Area, with XAI reportedly scouting for even larger office space. Neuralink's new lease is for a 144,000 square foot property that had been vacant since biotech firm Interven Biosciences pulled out of its lease in 2023, according to a report by the San Francisco Business Times last year. Last year, Neuralink expanded its operations in Central Texas with construction of a 112,000 square foot facility in suburban Austin. All right, that's the Austin American Statesman. Well, look, why are we talking about all this? It's important to note that he still has. Let me see if I can get up the Politico Pro. Here we go. Look. Oh no, not that one. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. No. Okay. Well, I thought I had this here. So look, it's important to note, guys, that he still has access, or potentially still has access, to everything inside the United States government. Now let's think about that for a second. Social security numbers, our data, tax returns, national security secrets. I mean, remember, it was not that long ago that the former president and current president of the United States faced criminal charges for removing classified documents. Now, Elon Musk, as a former special government employee, and they've been very opaque about this, so we don't know, uh, had access to all of this, allegedly eliminated entire agencies. Sure, seems to have done that. So much of this is playing out in the courts. We don't know. There was a Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, has been pushing for some clarity and transparency into what's actually going on there. And a federal judge recently decided that, yeah, you know what? We do need to know. The public needs to know how much access the world's richest man, in some ways almost more powerful than a president, potentially more powerful in that he exists outside the bounds of many laws and many nation states, um, how much access he truly got and what happened to that information, sensitive information, personally, national security, you name it. All right. Reminder, today on the show, every Monday on the show, we are doing the nut graph. So what is the nut graph? Where do we go with this? Aside from the hilarious double entendre of this moment in American history, in which we have more than enough nuts to fill one show every goddamn day, um, the nut graph is also a journalistic device. This is I call it this because number one, because you guys voted for it, and thank you for voting. That was really cool. Um, it is what we use to keep the reader up to speed on what's happening. Bring everybody up to speed. So, hey, you know what? You got a limited amount of time in the day. You don't have time to be surfing Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, constantly, Substack, you name it. Which is why you have reporters to sift through this stuff, but you got to keep everybody up to speed. That's part of staying grounded. So do this every Monday to keep people grounded heading into the week. All right. And reminder that you reach out, Tom at 24site.news every day. We're here at noon. You can also catch the encore at 8 p.m. on Political Voices Network. Okay. Now, let's get to one of the things which really changed the election. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. Sorry, I was looking for this earlier. Found it. I thought I had my tabs ordered. Share this tab instead. There we go. Top secrets Elon Musk may have had. This is a Newsweek. And yes, I absolutely jumped the paywall for this one. Byline Robert Alexander. Federal judge in New York has ordered the Trump administration to disclose the security clearances held by Elon Musk during his brief tenure leading the Department of Government Efficiency, intensifying the scrutiny of the billionaire's unusual role at the center of U.S. national security operations. The ruling follows earlier calls from Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, there we go. Democrat of Connecticut for a federal investigation into whether Musk and his aides were improperly allowed to use private servers to access sensitive or classified government information. Hey, this is good writing by Newsweek. I got to give props to Newsweek. They've really turned themselves kind of back into a news juggernaut that they used to be. Very interesting. Why it matters. The decision goes beyond one billionaire's privacy dispute. It strikes at the heart of how transparent government should be when private power and public authority overlap. That is a that is as gentle a way of putting it as I think he possibly could. Props to Robert Alexander for writing that sentence. By ordering disclosure of Musk clearances, the court set a precedent limiting the government's broad use of, quote, personal privacy to shield politically sensitive information. The case raises urgent questions about accountability, national security, and the influence of unelected business figures inside the federal system, and whether Americans have a right to know what secrets they're being trusted with. That was a great piece. I'll have to make sure I link that in the newsletter. Okay, what decided the election last time? I mean, a number of things decided the election last time. transgender individuals and the ability of the Trump campaign to create a haunting specter of transgender individuals via some very smart targeting. That was certainly an issue. Joe Biden's infirmity and the decision to drop out. Kamala Harris jumping in, and as she is noted in an apparently very well-selling book, her lack of autonomy in her own campaign operation. Price of eggs. Price of eggs. Whatever happened? Now, I think about this constantly. I go grocery shopping to pick up stuff for the week because, it doesn't hurt as much as it used to. All right. It does not pain me as much to pick up 18 eggs at the store the way that it used to. Now, look, we're not in the days of like, dollar, whatever, $1.50 or what have you, but they've been dropping. What happened? I mean, this used to be a determining factor. Here, let's go to the Fed via Fred out of St. Louis. Check out these average prices here. So that's back, decades ago. And let's get up to now. Okay, pre-pandemic. Now, these are the prices I remember. This is the good old days. $1.36. Look at that. That was great. It's always more expensive here in suburban DC. Pandemic spike. And then, voila, Biden did that. Just kidding. Biden didn't do that. Avian, massive supply chain interruptions and avian flu started to spike and massive disruptions in how we got here. So look, check out this peak. I was really surprised by this back in March of this year. 6 something per dozen. I mean, remember this, guys. This was remarkable. Remember back when you had stores saying that restaurants, and this is before, standard inflation and the tariffs and everything started hitting. This is back when the restaurants were saying, we're just not doing eggs. Okay. We just can't find them. All right. It looked like the pandemic. It looked like the bare shelves of the pandemic. All right. Well, now here we are, the latest from the Fed via Fred. Back down to 358 average. Look at that. Not bad. So what happened? Well, let's go to the USDA. And thank God we still have some, we actually still have some data to rely on. This is really important. So this is the USDA charts of note. Retail egg prices fall following declining wholesale prices. The market adjusted. So wholesale drops. They started putting in new birds. I think it was these pullet hens, as I recall. Here's the USDA in April 25. The average retail price declined $5.12 a dozen, down more than $1 from its March peak. Wholesale prices tend to vary more than retail, frequently fluctuating in response to factors such as seasonal demand, supply chain disruptions, etc. Retail are influenced by wholesale, but additional factors such as pricing strategies. Anyway, long and short of this is the market adjusted. The market adjusted to this. Producers, farmers started bringing in new hens. The market adjusted properly. This is why we can have breakfast in America again. Something I enjoy quite a bit. Look at, so let's take a look real quick. We're going to hop from the eggs to, let's do a quick update on Virginia. Before we do that, I do want to jump in on one quick thing. I forgot to pre-populate this. It's pretty interesting. Let's see. Here we go. Since we no longer have 538, God rest its soul, and we political polling, dear God. Now we have betting. Okay. The betting seems to do a pretty good job of telling us what's likely to happen. I stopped by Polymarket since they seem to deem our reality in politics these days. Let's take a look at, I just wanted to do a quick check-in. This is the homepage for politics on Polymarket. Check this out. All right. So if this 2028 primaries were to wrap today for the Democrats, Gavin Newsom by 36%. Yeah, there's a safe bet. New York City mayoral elections, Zoran Mamdani. I wonder how they get where that other 12% is. I don't bet. All right, I haven't really. I don't play this market. Interesting. Already predicting that JD Vance will be the winner in 2028. Lots and lots of caveats in there. Here's something you can probably put a little bit more money on if you do decide to bet on our chosen reality in America. Fed decision in October, 92%. Presidential nominee, 2028. Now, what had me thinking about all this was the still anonymous. I was doing a little Googling before, and I could not find the name of this person. He got like $84 million by betting correctly on the election back in last year, the presidential, the anonymous French whale. Very fascinating. I couldn't find it. Well, in our new world of gambling and crypto and very fastly changing dynamics, check out this little update on Polymarket, which I stumbled onto. Stock exchange is going to invest billions in them. New York Stock Exchange owner to invest up to $2 billion in betting market startup Polymarket. Declan Hardy via Politico Pro. God, he looks like Zuckerberg. Sorry. The New York Stock Exchange parent company plans to invest up to $2 billion in Polymarket, marking the latest sign of the so-called prediction market's rising profile on Wall Street. Intercontinental Exchange, Atlanta-based financial giant known better as ICE. You can tell I didn't read this entire thing before coming up to it. So ICE is not in Chicago, it's in Atlanta. Anyway, okay, it said Tuesday its strategic investment in Polymarket will value the startup at roughly $8 billion. Dear God. In addition to the investment, ICE and Polymarket, I really, goddamn, nobody has a sense of irony. What the fuck? Plan to partner on future efforts to tokenize assets or put them on the same blockchain technology that underpins cryptocurrency markets. ICE will also begin distributing Polymarket data for customers around the world. All right, I did not jump the paywall for this. I'll put the link in there. Our dear God, our new overlords, and every one of them, a Mark Zuckerberg. Goddamn. Okay. Hey, we're gonna get to some questions and comments here in a second, guys. A reminder: this is the Nut Graph every Monday here on the show. Catch it live at noon on Substack and YouTube, and the encore. If you're joining us late, the encore over at 8 p.m. As I'm populating the podcast too, I sent out a newsletter this morning over at 24site.news. As I'm populating the podcast, I've not been putting in the news shows in there because, among other things, I'm doing all the grunt work of the audio and whatnot, and uploading, distributing, writing, you name it. And I just, I want it to be a little bit more evergreen content, but tell me what you think. If you do want these, because I feel like this stuff is just a little bit more ephemeral, probably better for the live audience. Always catch the encore over at 8 p.m. on Political Voices Network. All right, real quick, then we're going to get to some questions and comments. Let's see. This is pretty interesting. Well, quick update on Virginia. Share. Check this out. VPAP.org, the Virginia Public Access Project. Great resources for all you guys. If you're following along what's going on in Virginia, if you want to know what's happening in the races down there. This is a very competitive race. This is a delegate, Carrie Coyner. She's the one that got the text messages from Attorney General candidate Jay Jones 3 years ago, in which he made a joke or a death threat, really depending upon how you read it, against the Republican Speaker of the House. I would note not really taken as a serious death threat because it was no law enforcement activity around it, and happened 3 years ago. But boy, oh boy, has it been a political potential death sentence for Jay Jones as we head into the final weeks of this election. Some crap polling. Trafalgar Group is crap polling. It's a partisan poll. But if you shave a few points off of that to account for the partisan aspect of it, shows him dropping significantly in his race against Republican incumbent Jason Miyares. And I suspect if you account for the partisan lean of the Trafalgar poll, you would find a very neck and neck race. Now Trafalgar has Miyares leading. Let's see how that goes. Now, this is fascinating though, because Corner is up for real. The House elections are happening now. House delegates down in Virginia. Look at this, super huge down as you're getting over from Richmond. If you see up at the top of the map there, getting over from Richmond down to the Norfolk area. Here's that's where this district is super competitive. There's Kerry Coyner. Look at this amount of money being spent in this race. Here's Lindsay Doherty is the Democrat down there. Look at this, raised $846,000. All right, that's almost $1 million raised for a House of Delegates race. And here's Lindsay Doherty with almost $500,000. Really fascinating. Look at this, the ad spending, pretty modest on the IEs there, but let's take a look at the ad spending real quick. God damn, look at this stuff. Just remarkable. And, you can see here really starting to hit, this is the more recent, right, as opposed to reservations, with early voting underway. This is just an incredible amount of money. Now check this out. Let's go back here. Super tight race. Precinct results. I already get the VPAP newsletter. It's great. Here's what shows in. So this actually went for Kamala in 2024. Very interesting. Let's see. No, we don't have that yet. Let's see what the last time around was. Coyner eked it out last time around against Stephen Miller Pitts. This is always fascinating to me. And, for all of us State House nerds, we kind of know this intuitively. I think a lot of the national folks often miss this. Look at this, the actual number of votes it takes to win down there. I mean, that's what the difference of 11, 9, 10, 1,000. Was that like 1,200 votes? That's 1,200 votes. You can get a lot done with some serious door knocking in these delegate races. Okay, let's hop over to comments. Say, hey, if you got questions, drop them in there on the Substack Live. Unfortunately, I cannot see the Substack Live. I'm doing, we do all this great stuff with the with graphics and whatnot on StreamYard. We're able to multicast over to YouTube, which I friggin' love. But the internet bandwidth doesn't work that great. So here's Gene Elby. Hey, Gene Elby. Nuts is nuts. Cannot find frog costumes in the USA. I love this, Gene. Yes. Oh man, are you up in Portland? Do you see this? I won't play it because we are a family operation as much as I curse on air. But did you see this, like the naked bike ride protest? I know that and I'm working on getting us a show on these alleged terrorist designations that the White House is making. You could make a pretty good argument that for some folks, riding around naked in public is a terrorist activity. Certainly, if the White House did that, I would bleed from my eyeballs. Yeah, I just yeah. Yeah. So if for folks, if you're out there doing any protest device of these paramilitary operations going on inside our United States cities, potentially in contravention of the law, again, this is being adjudicated up through the appellate courts. Don't do naked, really. Oh yeah. Get a frog costume if you can find one. G. Nelby, RFK must want him out of government with his autism re-Elon. I was reading up on that actually before the show, Gene, and he said he has Asperger's. Now, if you look at the card that I put, the graphic I put together on the YouTube, I took his Nazi salute. All right, so that's the face he's making during a Nazi salute, and it was a Nazi salute. There's no, he just that was the thing that I used for it. And I recall all the folks that said that he became a Nazi because of autism or Asperger. That's not, hey, hey, God. Let's remove this. There we go. I don't know. Um, I was reading that and I was just laughing because like he made some comment on, I think it was Saturday Night Live or something like 4 years ago. Elon did about he has Asperger's. Look, guys, being on the spectrum, having Asperger's, being on that that subset of the spectrum, what have you. And I apologize to all my mental health professional friends, um, if I'm getting this language wrong here, but it does not make you a Nazi. That does not. I don't know why. Anyway, yet another thing from the archives of, I don't know, 10 months ago, because that's how short our, our memories are these days, which we're trying to fix here. Here's here is Lindsay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, Lindsay Hake. A Wegman side commentary on eggs. What was wait, I missed this one, Lindsay. And a big shout out to my girl Lindsay Hake out in Indiana, holding it down at the State House. What happened with the eggs and Wegmans? I didn't grab this one. The most famous Wegmans I've ever heard is when Dr. Oz, who clearly did not live in Pennsylvania, does not know what a Wegmans is. A lot of people jumped down his throat for making some kind of comment about crudité. He actually showed up to a Wegmans in Pennsylvania when he flopped his 2022 Senate race. And a lot of people were kind of getting on him. A lot of people down here in DC were getting on him about that. But as somebody whose family, really enjoys shopping at Wegmans, like that is a religious experience. So there are routine pilgrimages to Wegmans. The cardinal sin that he made was referring to it as Wagners. I don't know what the fuck Wagners is. There's a Wegmans now here in Montgomery County, Maryland. And maybe the DC folks will get enlightened by this, but if you were up in northern Maryland, Baltimore County, whatnot, on your way up to Pennsylvania, I guarantee you know what a Wegmans is, and you don't fuck that one up. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. We're going to wrap it up. Make sure to sign up, tom24site.news, 24site.news. Make sure you get the email. Coming up on the show tomorrow, this could be a cool one. For folks, if you've read my book, my biography of Mike Pence, I really enjoy exploring the religious piece of his life and his background and the Christian right and kind of how that all merged together to put him in a very historic spot. Now, whether the current administration would ever try to record any of that in history is a different question. But I've always enjoyed reporting on the religion side. I really feel that it helps us to understand what's actually happening in politics. And I think that there is what I see so often in coverage around this, certainly in kind of political coverage and mainstream coverage, is a willingness to gloss over things, whether that's intended or not, um, and not really grasp the nuances of why things are happening as they are. I see very often. I see what I call state religion attached to Donald Trump. Um, I see that referred to as the Christian right, as evangelical, and there certainly are some folks that would fit that mold and that language, which we used to use traditionally, and that certainly was Mike Pence's world. But there's a new world. It's called the New Apostolic Reformation. And tomorrow on the show, I'm going to be bringing on Matthew Taylor, Dr. Matthew Taylor. He graduated from the Fuller Theological Seminary. He researches this group up in Baltimore, and he did a podcast on this. He wrote a book about the New Apostolic Reformation last year, and has another book coming out soon. He has a very excellent podcast, which I linked in today's newsletter, and I'm very excited to have him on because it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is, guys. And it is immensely more powerful politically, I think, than the moral majority of the Christian right ever was. And yes, that's a nod to you, Ralph Reed. This is very different. So make sure to tune in tomorrow live at noon. And then also catch us on the replay at 8 p.m. Hop on over to Substack, YouTube, you name it. And all of our interviews now going up on the podcast. So head on over to Spotify and find us there. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Peace.